Polyp works here. So, the famous man who only looks east, perhaps the lamest character in all of One Piece, Luffy's father, Monkey D. Dragon, the man who literally does nothing. Since I've been enjoying One Piece ever since I was 13 or so, there have been many a theory about what Dragon's Del Fruit is. Some people say that he has a wind Logia, which is a very valid claim. I have made a video saying that he could be a fan paramecia, which I just think is very funny, based off the banjo fan that's in Dragon Ball, but is also found, I believe, in Journey to the West, or as a reference to Princess Iron fan from Journey to the West. But a lot of people come to the conclusion saying that he is some sort of mythical dragon Zoan. I don't think that's going to be the case. And here's why. So, in One Piece, a lot of people are on this mythical Zoan kick, especially now with the comings of Gear 5th, the defeat of Kaido, the reveal of the 5 elders and their devil fruits. A lot of people are on the mythical Zoan kick. Here's the thing that people are missing. Of Zoan fruit classes, the one that has not been developed yet, despite having a whole lot of members at this point, are the ancient Zoans. And with that being said, I think Dragon will ultimately have the ancient model of the dragon fruit. Another ancient model of the dragon fruit, I should say. Model Dragon. So his name would literally be Monkey D. Dragon, who has the Ryu no Mi model Ryu, or model Red Ryu, or whatever you call it. Point of the matter is, he will be your standard Western style dragon. Why do I say this? Because dragons, for some reason, have this relationship with the higher brass of the world. The celestial dragons. It's even in the name, celestial dragon. They tattoo their slaves with the hoof of the soaring dragon. And to make matters worse, and what kind of connects these things together, the dragon that we have the name of, the dragon that Vegapunk created, Dragon 13, was named Dragon 13 by a celestial dragon. So that means that the celestial dragons actually hold dragons, the animal, in high regard. We also know that in the lore of One Piece, dragons are a feared and dangerous creature. If Monsters and the anime adaptation of Monsters are to teach us anything about dragons. What is so interesting about the dragon in Monsters and 13 is they have a particular look. This particular look, for whatever reason, is carried over in the flag of the Revolutionary Army. The head of the dragon that is present within the Revolutionary Army's flag, though not one for one, is very similar to Dragon 13. In terms of visage, it feels as if it is a simplification or some sort of stylistic rendition of what Dragon 13's face looks like. Now, what's interesting too is that Dragon knows Vegapunk, so he might have seen 13 at some point, which fueled him to go find the dragon fruit model dragon and style his whole organization after perhaps what he looks like as a dragon, or what 13 looks like, because they probably look one and the same, most likely. So that's a thing. Also, it's very funny that is a very high possibility that both himself and Vegapunk will have the same gag, because Vegapunk has the brain fruit, and the brain fruit in Japanese is literally called the no mi. So that's funny, because in Dragon's case, he is a man named Monkey D. Dragon, who is the user of the dragon fruit model dragon, potentially. So he would be dragon with the dragon fruit model dragon. Another thing to know is that depending on how far Vegapunk and Dragon's relationship goes back, Vegapunk might have regaled him a tale about how the celestial dragons hold dragons in high regard, which inspired him to literally become a dragon and to lead the revolutionary army, to be a giant middle finger to the entire organization of the world government, as to say, I am the thing you treasure. I am the thing you hold dear. And I am the standing force that will stand against you, using the awesome power of the beast that you hold dear against you, against everything you stand for. I, Monkey D. Dragon. But that's just theory crafting. So, as a reason as to why the celestial dragons held dragons in such high regard, could be a twofold reason. One, of course, is a canonical reason that they were a problem for people in the past, if monsters is to be believed, and this was like a worldwide problem. They terrorized towns and such, right? And could be summoned somehow. Perhaps the summoning horn is a relic from the celestial dragons, if that's a canonical thing in One Piece. But by what the dragon in the Monsters anime adaptation tells us, is that the dragon horn is somewhat canonical. To go further down the whole dragon's horn rabbit hole, what if the dragon's horn was the original Buster Call? What if the starts of the celestial dragons had these things at hand and could use them to summon dragons to their aid in order to send them upon their enemies and rain fire upon their enemies for days on end, potentially? Why even bother with a legion of dumb battleships at that point, who have failed in the narrative several times, by the way? They've only been successful once. So why even bother with all that, where you can just send these flying monsters who have no opposition and where they can go anywhere because they fly. Send them to your opposition's island and literally send down flame upon flame around the entire area, burning it down to the ground within minutes. And then you keep that up for a day or two to make sure everybody and everything is gone. That's what I think they were used for in the past. But again, theory crafting. So with that being said, what if they too were the natural enemy to the Sea Kings? Because based on the variety that we get from the Monsters anime and in Punk Hazard, we see that they do come in different sizes. Because 13 seems to be bigger than the dragon in Monsters, and then we have the weird little green guy in Punk Hazard who is no bigger than a horse or something, right? So it's very likely that you could have dragons as big as your biggest Sea King flying the skies, and they would fight Sea Kings day in and day out. However, seeing as how they're extinct, you see more and more varieties of Sea King, because the main thing keeping them under control is now gone. It is now extinct. There are no more dragons. Therefore, the Sea Kings can thrive. And from the looks of it, it seems as though, from just how the Sea Kings are depicted, at least the larger ones, it seems as that they are the good guys, which means dragons are the bad guys, which makes a lot of sense because celestial dragons and various antagonists in the story, like Queen and King and Kaido, have dragon fruits. So it would be a nice turn of events for the character literally named Dragon to be the opposition to the establishment and taking the power of the beast that they held or hold in such high regard. So with that being said, seeing as how there's so much dragon iconography, even Dragon's ship looks like a dragon, has a dragon figurehead, one has to assume that there has to be something deeper here, because he is not the first person to have their ship styled after something about themselves. And with that being said, I think he actually can become a dragon. Now, the thought process then goes to, well, how could he create those strong gusts of wind in Lowtown? The thing about it, and we'll get into this in another video, but what's very interesting is that dragons so far are one of two creatures in the One Piece world who have naturally occurring pyrokinesis, right? So they naturally have superpowers, you could say. So, seeing as how we don't know much about dragons at all, they could naturally have some sort of influence over the wind. Or it could be that their wing beats are so powerful that they can actually influence the weather around them. That seems a little steep for a natural ability, but it could happen. With that being said as well, the reason why I think these things would be turned into an ancient Zoan type devil fruit as opposed to a mythical type devil fruit or a regular devil fruit is because they are an extinct creature. For all intents and purposes, from what the story is telling us, these things are extinct. They might have been more prominent in Ryuma's day, but judging from where he is in Monsters, both in the anime adaptation and in the manga, because based on the surrounding area, it looks nothing like Wano and looks more like a old western town with a saloon and all that. The dragon that he slays in Monsters doesn't seem like the first dragon he's ever cut down, because it seems as though there were dragons in Wano as well, and he's cut down one before. Not only that, but Vegapunk brought a dragon back to life, which means that they weren't any to begin with, or they have all been wiped out, perhaps by people like Ryuma. Perhaps there was a mass extermination effort, much like with another fire manipulating race in One Piece. But that's what I think. Based on them being suggested to be an extinct creature, that would put them in the category of being an ancient Zoan, because these things aren't around anymore or aren't around in the capacity of which they once were. So they would be an ancient Zoan. Also, on top of that, in terms of ancient Zoans, if anyone were to introduce us to what one could really do, Dragon most likely would be the guy to do it. Because so far, ancient Zoans have no real strong representation in the story. They've all been wielded by lackeys and subordinates of more powerful characters. King, Queen, X-Drake, all lackeys, and we have not seen one who has awakened either, with the exception possibly being Jupiter, as he is a sandworm. We don't know the natures of his abilities just yet or how they are going to be categorized, but seeing as how the rest of the elders are Asian monsters from folklore and he is a D&D creature, it's very likely that he is an ancient Zoan that inhabited some part of the world at some point. But it's a very interesting thing to think about. So in the world of ancient Zoans, he would be the only exceptions to the rule that is exceptionally powerful. So if Dragon was to be anything of importance in the series, he would be a great avenue to show us what an ancient Zoan can really do. And it would be very unique because he most likely is the only ancient Zoan with fantastical abilities just based on the nature of dragons and how they appear in One Piece. So with that being said, give me your thoughts.